Hello guys, welcome back. This is another one of my retrospective digging in the shelves videos. This is part 3. I'm going to be looking at reggae, how I got interested in that. People ask me sometimes how you get interested in a style of music like reggae. This follows on from 2 previous videos. One where I talked about kind of my first kind of initial interest in music, checking out some of the pop hits of the day, buying my first vinyl LPs, also starting to learn about my parents' generation's music, the music of the 50s and 60s, buying the odd used LP here and there, gradually switching over to cassette, and then in the second video kind of losing touch, getting disinterested in the music, the current music of the day, and discovering hip-hop, which was kind of a music that had more social relevance, wasn't just frivolous dance music. It had something to say, it had an edge, an attitude that I wasn't getting from the music I was listening to at the time. By the early 90s I'd kind of lost touch with hip-hop. I don't quite remember what happened, but I was shifting around for a different kind of music to immerse myself in. Was still listening to the radio, looking for a different station that had some interesting things on it. I ended up finding a college station broadcasting out of Bellingham, Washington, that had a few interesting songs that I would. And I was buying cassettes at the time. Very shortly, I'd switched to CD, start buying CDs. But I was also taping things off the radio for yes, I know, killing music. But I had a series that I would do called Sound Bites. I would write the little track lists on here so you can kind of see. This has got a date of 1994 on it. This is what I was listening to in 1994. We've got first off Come As You Are, Nirvana, REM, Can't Get There From Here, Bruce Cockburn, Lovers in a Dangerous Time, and on through The Cure, In Excess, XTC, Pearl Jam, and starting side 2, Jammin' by Bob Marley, and towards the end Get Up, Stand Up by Bob Marley. So Bob Marley's songs were on my radar in 1994. I'd heard a bit of reggae through the 80s, songs like Musical Youth or Pass the Dutchie by Musical Youth, some of the Jimmy Cliff stuff. I don't know if I really clued in that that was reggae, but I definitely started gravitating toward that sound, that vibe, looking for what to look for next. Very early on, I bought the Bob Marley box set, Songs of Freedom. This came out in 1992, 4 CD set, covering his very earliest days up to his final island years, and all points in between. Excellent retrospective of his work. Essential, I would say. This led me on to related artists like Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer. I was going to the Vancouver Public Library, checking out various things I could find in their record section. It was on CD then, I think. But one I discovered was the Itals on the great US Nighthawk label. Again, I was buying on CD back then, picking up the vinyl later as I came across them. Peter Tosh's Equal Rights was a huge album for me. Classic. Very soon I heard about the Tougher Than Tough box set, The Story of Jamaican Music. This was compiled by Steve Barrow, who had been doing compilations for Trojan Records in England through the 80s. He was asked to do this set by Chris Blackwell of Island Records. Steve told me it was originally going to be a 30 CD box set, 1 CD for each year from 1962 to 1992. I guess the accountants at Island Records freaked out. It got cut down to 20 CDs, which he did compile, and then finally in its final form of 4 CDs, covering very early days of the Jamaican recording industry, up through ska, through rocksteady, into the classic reggae years, and leaving off in the early 90s with the dancehall sounds of the day. So this gave me an idea of what eras, what styles I liked, what songs, what artists to look for, and gave me a great direction forward. Discovered Third World early on, the box set Reggae Ambassadors. I definitely spent many summers driving around with these songs, cruising on the old CD player in my first truck. Very early on, I discovered a reggae show broadcasting out of town on the local community radio station. It was hosted by a guy called George Barrett, a Jamaican DJ, who'd been on the air continuously since 1976, 1977-ish, ever since immigrating from Jamaica. He was actually related to Bob Marley's bass and drum player, Aston and Carlton Barrett. I think they're cousins. So he was, of course, hugely knowledgeable, been immersed in the music for his entire life. And that was a great resource to learn about not only the songs he was playing, giving an insight into the sometimes impenetrable Jamaican culture, the patois. They would joke back and forth with each other, him and his co-hosts. I don't know if he's still on the air. He's still around, still got his hand in it to some extent, but I think he's slowed down from weekly involvement in the radio shows. But for a long time, my routine was tuning into that show every Saturday night. Made many cassette tapes like this, going from mid-90s. I think this one's from 1996. That's the earliest one I could find, going up into the early 2000s. Must have been when I got rid of my original tape player. Don't know what happened to that, but it was a great little stereo system. I'd actually like to listen to some of these tapes again. Some of the songs on here I was never able to find on any other format. But it was great listening to this show as far as education into reggae, into Jamaican culture, as far as the songs they were playing, not only what songs, but also how they would play them, the style of presentation, which is very important in true reggae DJing, or selecting they call it. They would often mix different songs on the same rhythm track, one after the other, so you would get kind of a continuous flow. They would do what's called pull-ups or rewinds, where they start playing a song and then abruptly stop it and start it over again from the top. These little techniques would create drama, excitement while you're listening. So these are a style of presentation that maybe is not as common in other genres. So what was on here, he was playing stuff like, starting off with some classic Peter Tosh tracks, then he would get into some of the current songs of the day. Reggae was at a really good point at this time in the mid-90s. There was a revival of the roots and culture themes that had been prevalent in the 1970s, with a crop of new young artists bringing back themes of Rastafari, of black identity, spirituality. So a lot of those songs they still sound excellent to me today. As far as collectability, a lot of those records, oddly enough, have never really appreciated that much in value. You can get a lot of them very reasonably. Collectors have never kind of jumped on that 90s era of reggae too much, which is kind of surprising to me. Because to me, it's kind of the last great era of reggae, at least to date. So we've got lots of stuff on here. Got some Frankie Paul, Alton Ellis, just a mix of current hits, classic hits. Once in a while, they would do a left swerve and start off with some classic rock steady or something like that, and then go off on a tangent into a 30-minute block of hardcore 90s and 2000 or 90s dance hall DJing, which was and they would pull it off somehow. So it was interesting to learn all that, learn all the different styles, different genres. They would, of course, keep up to date with announcing current events and dances and concerts and things like that. One day I walked into a local HMV store and spotted a CD on the shelves, which immediately caught my eye. I had to buy it kind of on the spur of the moment, didn't know what it was, and I've talked a bit about this before, but it was the Congos, Heart of the Congos. That was on a record label out of England called Blood and Fire, founded by Steve Barrow, who did that Tougher Than Tough box set. And this was, I put this on in my old CD player at home, my old Techniques bookshelf system with the cassette players. Don't know whatever happened to that stereo. That must have been the last time I had a tape player, but it had a great sound. I missed that stereo. But I was actually blown away by this. This led me to finding the Blood and Fire website. They had a message board on there. I was able to link up with other reggae fans worldwide, many more, most of them more knowledgeable than me. I was still very new at that time. and learning a lot about the music. This would occupy me for many years to come, and still learning to this day, in fact. So moving forward, I was on my record hunting trips into the city. I would start looking through the used bins. Still didn't really have my own turntable at this early point. Wasn't even really a vinyl collector, but I would pick up the odd piece sort of as I came across it. Very soon, of course, I had my own turntable. But one I picked up in those early days was Blackheart Man, Bunny Wailer, absolute classic. Still got a date of, somebody's written their name and a date of 1978 in there. I don't know if you can see it. Got all these at Beat Street Records in Vancouver's, right downtown. One I found was Laxley Castell 12-inch single called Government Man. He's kind of an obscure singer. He's often compared to Hugh Mundell on the Tough Rock label. This actually came out on Nijis Roots in Jamaica. This was a weird pressing out of Edmonton, Canada, with an address of 5809 118 Avenue, Edmonton, Alberta. Made in Canada. Got this really cheap too at the time. This actually goes for around $50. Got that probably for around 10, I think, at that time. But I had a friend that I actually connected with through the Blood and Fire message board, and he lived in Edmonton, just a few minutes away from that address. Got to check it out at one point, and there'd been a Jamaican grocery store or restaurant or something in that location, but it closed down for years. Another one I found ended up being one of my all-time favorite reggae songs, a Joe Gibbs 12-inch, great singer Pat Kelly with the DJ Ranking Trevor, called It's a Good Day. I'm going to leave you with that. Still one of my all-time favorite songs. It's always a good day when this one hits the turntable. Hope you enjoyed, guys. This has been my look at my entry into the world of reggae. As long as you're able to put food on your table, it's a good day. Sums up a lot of what I love about Jamaican music. These guys were through incredible hardship, things we can't really conceive of too much in North America, and they can come out with songs like this, still with a positive viewpoint, looking forward to better. exclusive Shock Attack. Ranking Trevor on the mic. Did you hear what the brothers say? Peace, guys.